few deep breaths and just ponder that idea that we are the hands, we are the heart, we are blessing in the world. We are the voice of spirit on earth. Pondering that idea, we are the hands, we are the voice. When we have our days of feeling like we are not doing enough or we simply don't know what to do, when perhaps we're feeling that our lives don't make a difference, are not pertinent to what's happening in the world today. The teaching of this song is something for us to recall and review and remember. We are the hands. We are the voice of spirit on earth. We are the presence of love on earth. It's a huge and incredible calling and a huge job description. And sometimes we say a hearty hallelujah and a yes to being that, and sometimes we want to be in the very tinyness of that calling. I'd like to read to you something from Rumi. Rumi, the great Persian poet, he said, everyone can distinguish between kindness and anger. Every one of us can distinguish between kindness and anger, but only those with the mystic's heart can see that within the folds of kindness, anger is often there. And buried in anger's heart, kindness lies in wait. I invite us to take another deep breath into this idea. Especially when we feel anger or anxiety about world events, we hear words and see actions that for some of us seem heartbreaking or making no sense. It is a good time to deepen into the mystic's heart and see within the anger and within the actions that seem unkind, to see within the picture the opportunities for kindness and love and compassion and right action. As a great teacher once said, never put a period where God intends a comma. If we see a story unfolding in the world, let us know that it's not the story. It's a chapter, maybe a page, maybe a paragraph, or simply a sentence. The capacities of awakened human consciousness continue to unfold, and we continue to deepen into the most highest loving kindest action that we can take in each moment. We have that capacity within our hearts. So when we feel anger, distrust, when we see others in their anger and distrust, let's take a deep breath and remember that the capacity for kindness dwells there. The capacity for love and right action dwells there. we take another deep breath. We again review and remember this invitation. We remember this proclamation, really, of who we are. We are the voice. We are the hands. We are the heart of spirit on earth. We are the voice of kindness and compassion. And so we continue to know this in the moments that it feels simple and in the moments that it feels so very difficult. Let us take a deep breath and remember all those that we're holding in our hearts in prayer and healing consciousness, friends and family, the children of the world, families everywhere, trying to make our way through as a human species to what is the highest and most kindest decisions in the world. I invite you to take another deep breath, and as you open your eyes, turn to someone and say, you are the voice of spirit on earth. You are the voice of spirit on earth. You are the voice of spirit on earth. Did everybody have that said to you by at least one person? So when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, oh, what can I do? What difference can I possibly make? I'm going back to bed. Give your higher consciousness permission to bring to your awareness in that second, you are the voice of spirit on earth. What do you want your message to be today? So today we're talking about crucial conversation, and really, why do we care about it anyway? Really. As long as we can get our needs met, right? Whatever we have to do to get there. Why is crucial conversation important? Why should we care? So we're getting ready to launch into this class on July 9th, and today and for the next 2 Sundays we'll be speaking from this book. There are 2 books in the class. One is Speak Peace in a World of Conflict. This is Marshall Rosenberg's work. They used to live in Santa Barbara. It's great work, nonviolent communication. Who among us thinks we can use some more practice in nonviolent communication? And the other book is Crucial Conversations. So why do we care to create crucial conversations? So I called George Bernard Shaw and he gave me this quote. He said, the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. I told you. We had that whole conversation, remember? I said, you said. Often, don't tell anybody this, it's our little relationship secret. Often David and I have conversations and we're, 5-10 minutes into it, and we'll look at each other. We're not having the same conversation, really, are we? It's not even the same topic, is it? Have you ever done that? We were on a 5-day canoe trip once. Some of you have heard this story where the first hour of the first day of the 5-day canoe trip, 5 canoes tipped. Our wilderness guide was just thrilled at this, and gear was floating up the river. People were jumping in after gear and people, and over here on the side of the river were people digressing to past life drowning experiences. Most of them were psychologists and psychiatrists, by the way, and other people, getting the gear out of the river, and then David and his buddies were out in the middle of the river trying to get canoes released from the submerged logs that they were trapped under. And did I tell you it was the first hour of the first I remember looking at Bob Woods, Unity Minister, y'all might remember him from Denver. I remember looking at his face and it was something like, David was out in the river jumping on top of a canoe, trying to get it to come loose from the submerged log. I was on the side of the bank trying to help. And I was saying in kind of a loud voice, David, stop jumping on the canoe. You're going to get hurt. I could just see this canoe popping up all of a sudden and knocking him back. David, stop jumping on the canoe. David, stop jumping on the canoe. And one of the psychiatrists comes up to me and says, he can't hear you. David, stop jumping on the canoe. He can't hear you. And I said, he's not listening to me. So that was one of our little issues. But I thought I was having a conversation. And he wasn't listening to me. Anybody ever done that? I told you we had this conversation. So we think we've had the conversations, but maybe we haven't. Maybe there's a space in our lives for more conscious conversation. So what is a crucial conversation? A discussion between two or more people where stakes are high, opinions differ, and emotions run high. Anybody have any examples? Examples.
How much time you got? That's a workshop.
So this can happen between two individuals, a couple, friends, siblings. This can happen in families. This can happen with co-workers. This can happen in the world around the peace table between Israel and Palestine. This happens around the treaty tables all over the world. Stakes run high. Opinions differ. Emotions are strong. Is it still possible? Do we still have the capacity to reach for peace or right action when all of this is going on? So there are people in the world like Marshall Rosenberg and others who have the audacity to think we need to learn how to have these conversations because the health and well-being of our human family and our planet are in the balance. So would it be a good idea? So, Chief Seattle, we did this a few Sundays ago. It bears repeating. We did not weave the web of life, you and I, humankind. We're merely a strand in it. Whatever we humans do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things are connected. We can't get away from it. So when I'm arguing with you and wanting to make my point, being unkind or unconscious in the doing of it, I'm hurting myself in the process. You know, it took us a long time to get this. As long as I get my needs met, right? Somehow you'll figure it out. But that isn't the way it works, right? We're all one. So there's a growing awareness in us. It's growing so strong every day. It's coming at us from every angle, every culture, every spiritual path. We can't get away from it. We are bound to one another's lives. We are not disconnected. What we do to another, we're doing to ourselves. What we do for another, we're doing for ourselves. If we hurt another, we're hurting ourselves. If we are loving towards another, we are creating love in our lives. So this is the symbol that we like to use. Why do we want to create crucial conversations? The Mayans say this, la queche. I am another yourself. You are another myself. There's you in the infinity loop, and then there's the other. Who's what? Another you. Another you. You know, a lot of us, there's a lot of articles right now on Facebook and magazines, different people are talking about it. The empathic experience in the world right now. If we have just a little bit of empathy, if we have just a little bit of this empathic awareness of another human being's experience, we are feeling the intensity of it, and there are different ways that we can respond, but one of the ways is to keep our hearts and minds open to what is the next right and perfect step that will create love and compassion in the world, because we hurt ourselves if we don't. It's as basic as that. I mean, it's really not selfish, but it's a self-love. It's an awareness of self-love that what I do to you impacts me. Martin Luther King said it this way: our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. There's a lot of things stirring around in the consciousness of humanity right now. You know, I hear from people in other countries, I'm sure you are too. Other countries are holding America in prayer right now. Other countries are holding us in prayer. I was raised in a spiritual tradition where we were always praying for other poor countries. We were always praying for the people who didn't, quote, have God. And now other countries are praying for America. So I was thinking about the story of Peter, the Apostle Peter. You remember this story? He's the one where Jesus took three of his main guys, three of the disciples, Peter, James, and Paul, and they went up, Peter, James, and John, and they went up to the Mount of what? Transfiguration. You know, these three disciples watched Jesus become a figure of great light. You know, they wanted to build an altar where they saw it happen. Whoa, this is something amazing. We better build an altar to mark the spot. Jesus asked them an important question. He says, who do people say that I am? You know, what are they saying in town? Who do people say that I am? And they said, well, they think you're an angel or a great prophet. Maybe you're John the Baptist returned. And Peter said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Peter knew that this human being had a consciousness within him that was going to take humanity on into the awakened consciousness. This was something new. That's why they called it the New Way. This way was not called Christianity to begin with. It was the new way. And Peter said, you are, I'm paraphrasing, you are within a consciousness that the whole of humankind hasn't seen yet. You're launching something new into the world. You're the Christ. You're the awakened consciousness, the anointed consciousness. You are the offspring of the Most High God. You are the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but the Spirit of the living God has revealed this to you. Peter knew this. So you would think, if anybody was going to be stronger and dynamic in his ministry of bringing the new way, the truth of the new way, it would be Peter. But what did Peter do? He freaked out. After he was the first one to see this difference in the consciousness of this human named Jesus, he then hit his place of fear. Hey, Christians were being killed. People who followed Jesus, they were being hunted. They had broken the law. And so Peter did a flip. Hey, weren't you with that guy Jesus? Weren't you with him when he was out doing miracles and healings and preaching heretical ideas? Weren't you with him? And Peter said, no, not me. Must have been my brother. Looks like me. No, it was you, right? Peter said, no, it wasn't me. No, gotta go. See you. No, I'm sure it was you. We saw you. No, you got me confused with somebody else. But then he had another conversion, another metanoia, and he remembered. And he became one of the great teachers in the world of the new way. So what I want to remind us of here this morning is, we're going to have times when we know exactly the depth of who we are and why we're here, and we're going to know without a doubt that we're the light of the world. And then there's going to be moments when we're going to say, no, that's not me. That must be somebody else who's going to do that part to be the light of the world, because that's not me. We're going to deny that we ever knew that we're the light of the world. Have y'all had that experience yet?
Yeah.
How many times have you had it this morning? So we need to remember the ongoing story. We don't stay stuck in the forgetting. We don't stay stuck in the place of denying our magnificence. We do come through that. Don't make your decisions based on who you're not. Make your decisions based on who you are. We're the light of the world. And one more time, don't put a period where God intended a comma. You know, the story's not done. Today, Margaret forgot she's the light of the world, comma. Though she remembered by lunchtime. Today, Margaret collapsed into anger and hopelessness, comma. And by nightfall, she remembered again, she's the light of the world. You see how that works? It's going to be important as we continue our studies of crucial conversations, because we've all got many, many stories where we didn't do well in our communications with the people that we're sharing our journeys with. Our companions in the journey. Don't we all have those stories? Yeah. So there's this wonderful spiritual gift that we're given. It's called the spiritual redo. If my heart's telling me I could have done that a little bit more consciously, then I get to go back, maybe with the same person, but maybe next time it's going to be another person, but the same issue. I can do it more consciously. I can speak more consciously. I can listen more consciously, because that's where healing happens. You may be the one that I had the conversation with that I didn't really do well at all. So you're my teacher. You get to be the person. I review the conversation and I do it better next time. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yes.
So back to that canoe trip. When David finally listened to me and got out of the water, all the canoes are back up on land, the gear has been rescued, the people are rescued, and we're all sitting nightfall, the first day. And we began to reflect, and we had a crucial conversation. In my fear, I feel that you're not listening to me. In my anxiety, I fear you won't hear me. In my complete and utter disregard for the fact that Spirit is all around us at all times, and I think I have to handle everything, I need for you to know that. And David gets to say to me at that moment, I absolutely knew I was okay because Spirit is all around me. David got to remind me, I knew that all was well. Everything's okay. And I couldn't hear you doing the crazy dance on the street. Check in with each other with the truthful, or as much as we can know in that moment, of the truth of what's happening, rather than the crazy stories we make up in our heads. So let's take a deep breath. It may be that crucial conversation or nonviolent communication, it may be that just giving ourselves over to this idea, this capacity, this possibility, helps us to do more conscious communication. And so we open our hearts and our minds to this idea, this awareness, that we have the capacity to create peace and kindness and right action. We open up to listening to one another and to the needs of the world. We open up to knowing what is mine to do in this place at this time. What do I have that matches the yearning of what the world most needs at this time? So our capacity to match what the world most needs at this time. Just speak out a word that you're thinking, what is the capacity within you that matches what the world most needs at this time? Paula just said understanding. Speak it loud enough so we can see. Patience. Compassion, love, trust. Civility, inspiration. Kindness, forgiveness. Wisdom. Empathy. Courage.
Understanding.
Calm. So we open our hearts, we open our minds. First, to be in conversation with the source, the spirit within us and around us. Be in a crucial conversation with this source energy within you. And be in conversation with those parts of you that are afraid, that are unsure, that are confused. Let the higher consciousness of you be in conversation with the aspects of you that are in fear. And lastly, to be in conversation with one another. With holy listening, holy seeing. We are the voice of Spirit on earth. We give thanks for knowing this, remembering this, and having the capacity to be this. And so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste.